it's me, Erin. Thanks for joining us on the More Love podcast. Do not tell Rebecca, but this podcast is about empathy. She likes people to think she's dead inside, but the truth is she's a big-time feeler who has truly helped me uncover that empathy is my superpower. Oh, here she comes.
Hey, bestie.
Hi, love.
What are you doing?
Oh, just getting ready to host a podcast.
A podcast? About what?
Life. Our life as best friends, who are more like sisters.
Ah, yay! I love us, and I can't wait to share our stories with the world.
Especially the ones that involve us pushing each other, right? To be our most authentic selves.
Oh, man. Okay.
I have less chin hair than I used to.
Why, did you get a new mirror in your car?
Yeah. No. I have less chin hair. So I used to be a chin hair mess. When I say chin, I mean this under part right here.
Your beard.
My beard.
Your goiter. What do they call that turkey thing?
My goblet.
Yeah.
The giblet. The gooblu.
I don't think it's called any of those.
Whatever it is. It used to be a major problem for me. So you know that I would stop at all of the stoplights, and then that is the best light.
What about the nose hair?
Well, that I got a nose hair trimmer, so that hasn't been a problem in a while.
Okay.
But this,
all right.
This I think is hormonally based.
Oh.
Yeah. So it used to be the case that when I would be in my car at a stoplight,
right,
I'd pull down the visor, get my tweezers. I have 3 of them from the, what do you call that? The thing you pull out. What do you call that?
The glove box?
Yeah, the glove box.
Okay.
The glove compartment.
Okay. Or the.
Oh, yeah, middle console.
Yeah, whatever that's
We're
called.
doing really good with car anatomy today. We're doing really good. That every time I'm no joke, I would pluck out at least 6, 7, 9 different hairs.
Wow.
But now
that's a lot of hairs.
To be honest, most of them were like dark, not white. Okay, we've crossed into that realm. I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, but isn't that from plucking?
No.
Oh, that's just the natural color of the hairs.
Yeah.
My only experience with plucking is my toe hair.
Okay.
That's the only thing I've ever plucked.
I feel like that's something you should wax because it wouldn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt when you pluck it. It's actually very satisfying.
Oh,
and I only have 3 to 4 hairs in there.
That makes me actually a little sick to my stomach.
Oh, I'm not a very hairy person, so clearly we've had the eyebrow. If you've seen the thing, my eyebrows, I still have done absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So I noticed today while I was stopped up by Bruegger's, and I had a minute. Of course, I pulled down the visor, get out my tweezers, and I only had 2. 2 mini hairs. Actually 3.
Is it because you did it the other day?
One of them was pure ass white. Pure ass white, like Santa Claus. But I think
bleach.
what I've chalked it up to is I have a much more imbalanced cortisol level, and my hormones and my stress and like everything is so much better balanced.
Oh, it's balanced now.
Yes.
Oh.
And so it's to the point now where I will pull down my visor and then I'll be like, oh man.
Oh, you're
There's
disappointed.
not really anything to
because it's like when you get a pimple.
This little spot right here on my chin always grows a hair. No, I haven't had one in months.
Well, I love to pick zits. I don't get zits, so I don't have that satisfaction on myself. However, when Taylor hit puberty, all day, come on, Tay.
Yeah.
Now Sawyer is about to hit puberty, and she also has chicken skin, so we have to determine, is it the chicken skin or is it the pimples? And the other day I looked at her, I go, ooh, you're coming up, girl.
Yeah.
You're coming up.
You don't want to.
She's like, you're not going to do what you do to Taylor to me. I go, oh yes, I will.
Absolutely. I am. I'm going to hold you down on the bed. Yeah. I love that.
Love it.
Remember that one time with Darnell?
That was gross.
That was actually next level. That was a full-on goiter. I've never experienced
I want to throw up thinking of it. You made me video it, and it was not okay.
Is it in the Voodoo Visionary subscription? Yeah.
That should have been on Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah. I know. That was not great. But anyway.
All right. Well, congratulations.
One of the benefits of my lack of hairiness is more hormonal balance, and one of the negatives is that I feel less satisfied at stoplights.
Well,
so
start plucking your toe hair.
Yeah, right. In the car.
No, not in the car. You cannot do that in the car. That is
It'd be really good today because I'm wearing a dress.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Maybe
get that foot up there on the dash.
Put it on the dash.
Right on the dash.
And do some plucking.
God. Not okay. Nah,
All right.
Okay.
What you got for us today? You got some, I see that's some wands.
Well,
and we've got
do you want to do that or do you want to, I don't know if I discussed this with you, but I watched, I think it was Hulu. I don't remember what, but thanks for giving me your Netflix password because I'm all in on certain things.
I've not been charged yet for the duplicate account.
No, they won't. They won't charge you. They'll kick me out of it. Good. Is what's going to happen.
Okay.
Eventually,
remember
one of these
how
days.
I told you that you need to get kicked out?
Yeah.
If it impacts my ability to watch Netflix?
No, it will. It will. Somebody else gave me theirs, and then it'll eventually kick me out. But right now, we're all in. Okay. But I don't think this was a Netflix one. But we were talking about it last night at the soccer party. The documentary about the parents that were convicted for the school shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap. Talk about an empathy problem.
I haven't watched that, but I know you said to watch that.
Because I really want to get your take on, I mean, I know how your take is going to be, but I thought it was a really interesting shift in school shooting. What is the word? It was the first time a prosecutor said,
philosophy.
We're going after the parents.
Philosophy.
We're going after the parents. And it was, I don't know if this is the reason. Maybe there was a woman prosecutor who had children the same age. I don't know. But she, based on the evidence, it was real clear these parents were borderline negligent in the sense of not taking anything seriously. And in this day and age, I cannot understand. Are you just in so denial about your own child? Like, are people in denial about their own kids and their abilities, their experiences, I literally look at certain people and they talk about their kid like they're a certain thing. And I'm like, are you looking at the same kid I am? Because that ain't it. That ain't it.
Princess can do no wrong.
Oh,
Princess can do no wrong.
Yet everything they do is questionable.
Right.
Or borderline. Or I'm like,
Queen and King can do no wrong.
But see, I don't feel that way about my kids. I'm very clear when it's not it.
Of course.
Would you, to the point where you would be willing to be held responsible for something that Taylor or Sawyer did at school?
So what happened was, like most hindsight school shootings, the kid had a math test and drew a specific gun on it and basically the plan and handed it in. And they called the parents and were like, let's talk about this. And the parents like, oh, it's no big deal. What?
Why are we calling the parents?
The kid asked numerous times, I need help. The parents bought him the gun. Took him to the shooting range. The kid got caught looking up ammo and different gun in the library because it's like all monitored. And the parents got called. The mom immediately texted him and said, you need to be smarter and hide that shit. You can't be doing that in public. I'm sorry. What?
I don't know. It's so much more complicated than that.
I disagree.
For me. It's not just as easy as, okay, well, we contacted the parents and the parents said no. And so all of a sudden it's the parents' fault that they didn't do this. Again, it goes so much further.
Well, you had to prove the case, of course. But the kid was like, I had been begging. Basically at court, he's like, I had been begging for help. I basically showcased what my whole plan was.
Why is that the parents' problem?
Because the parents did nothing.
But the school has no culpability with that whatsoever?
They found the school to have done everything they were supposed to do in their, what's it called? Their,
responsibility.
What is that called? When you have to follow certain
due diligence?
Yes, due diligences.
I'll have to watch it.
You have to.
I have to watch it. I can't process like you do, where like it was last episode or whatever, we did the perfect wife. And you're like, and then what? And then what? And then what? I am like, I gotta watch it for myself because I have to determine myself. Did these people do everything that they are supposed to do? And
they did.
Nothing
the school
in my
or
mind,
the parents?
Both.
Oh yeah.
Nothing in my mind is that clear cut. And also, I think you're on a slippery ass slope right there if you want to start
They set a precedent.
making parents accountable for what it is that their children do in a school environment.
Oh, yeah.
That is a very slippery slope.
They proved that the part of their case was the wife was having an affair. Therefore, she was more interested in having her affair than she was being a parent. They proved that the dad was unemployed and not willing to look for a job. Therefore, he was lazy and not interested in neglecting his kid. Like it's mind blowing. But I think the part for me that was just a clear cut. The parents bought the gun and left it on the bed, not locked up.
Not okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Right there is negligence. Now, do they deserve life in prison for that? I'm not sure. But
if it led to the death of people, then yeah, absolutely.
It did. He picked it up.
That's
literally.
But that act, buying a gun and leaving it out, it is not. Oh God, this is political of all right? If people should have their gun rights or whatever.
Sure.
Leaving that gun out on a bed is not what caused the death of those children.
No, it provided access to somebody who was mentally unstable.
Absolutely.
And clearly indicated that was very interested. I mean, his whole room was all when they would go to the shooting range, he would bring it home and it was like faces, not faces, like targets.
Yeah, the targets.
And it was all kill shots and it was all plastered in his room. I'm sorry. These are conversations.
I'd have questions.
These are not.
Yeah. Oh, I'd have a lot of questions as well.
The kid did not go to therapy in any way, and there was no investigation.
The parents were like,
he's
fine. It's no big deal.
Like, were
boys
the authorities involved? Did anyone call the police?
That might not be the school's.
Did the school?
That's not the school's policies.
Maybe it should be.
That's not the school's policy, but the school's responsibility at the end of the day is to keep all of those children safe, right? So just because it's not in your policies doesn't mean that you now are, again, off the hook for keeping my child safe. So
where does it stop?
Right. That's what I
where
mean.
Does that,
I know.
So
you have to watch. They didn't, this particular documentary, did not go into significant detail about what the school did. They just said that when the counselor and the principal or whomever was on the stand and tried or whatever, they were deemed, they did everything they were supposed to do.
I also am having some strong feelings about that because I've seen a minor view into the inner workings of K-12 school districts right now. Minor. When I say minor, I say very, very minor. And I don't believe that at all.
But think about it.
Is that your phone that keeps going off?
Yeah, it's my daughter.
Can you tell her you're busy?
I did. I told her I was busy.
Why is she calling? Like,
because she's nervous about the birthday party coming up.
What about the birthday party? That she's not going to make it?
Yeah, she's nervous about. She wants to make sure when she's ready, when she needs to be ready, and when I'm going to pick her up because I told her we got a tight time frame here.
Holy cow.
How long has this birthday party been known about? Just curious.
A day.
A day.
Yeah. So
and who let you know a day? Was it your daughter that sprung it on you?
No.
It was
an invite.
It was an invite?
Yes. So she's just anxious because I told her I wasn't
sorry,
here.
We can't go. Or if you want to go, you're going to go after I'm done with all of my responsibilities.
I know. Yeah, I agree.
But that's just me being crazy.
Agree.
Yeah.
I know. No, that's just crazy. You having boundaries.
It's not
weird,
crazy. There's a lot involved.
My kids do that to me all the time. They're like, oh, I've got this. And I'm like, well, you should have told me last week.
Yeah,
but
well, that's not her fault. So
I know, but you're kind of teaching them like.
Okay, we're not going to go there.
Okay,
there's a lot more involved that we're not going to discuss on air. But anyway, so
as long as she just stops texting you, that would be really great. Because I'm having a hard time. I don't care if she wants to talk about what type of cereal she's about to eat. I'm having a real hard time focusing on gun violence when Sawyer's blowing up the phone every 30 seconds.
Speaking of gun violence, hold on.
Jeez. Oh, you're literally texting her right now?
Yeah, so I'm saying.
Oh, hey
busy.
Guys, no big deal. Just if you could please hold for a minute. Rebecca's
you're the one who told me to stop.
Texting her daughter. We'll be back with you in a moment.
I'd like to be able to hack into her phone and just have the screen come up. So every time there's a text, we can bring it up.
You can. She's very sweet.
Now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
The schooling. So I shouldn't say in any, but in most circumstances, policy doesn't change until someone dies. Even though we have a lot in the world going on that we should all be looking at our policies and what we're doing.
It doesn't even need to be a policy. How about we use some common sense?
You can't. I don't think that's a thing.
How about we use some common sense?
I don't think that's a thing.
How about we say, this is an interesting situation unfolding. We have a young man who doesn't seem to come from a parental support environment that is supporting him. It looks like we have a student that has been expressing some of the very stereotypical behaviors we see in active shooters. Looks like he's not engaged in any type of support situation. And let's play this out. Just, hypothetically, what this could potentially look like. What would we be doing differently in any one of these particular scenarios? That is a case conference. That is a group of people coming together. That is a bringing together of the parents. And if the parents don't show up, maybe it's a CPS call, right? Like there's a whole million other things that come together when we decide to see all of these things from multiple perspectives, as opposed to just the fact that, we had a policy and I checked my frickin' checkbox. But you know whose problem it is at the end of the day? It's those parents.
But that's the question. So,
well, maybe the parents checked their checkboxes on their policies as well. And maybe it didn't fit the bill, but it looks like they covered their bounds from what they thought was appropriate.
Right. Well, the law decided it wasn't true, and now they in jail. They didn't win their cases.
Interesting.
They didn't win their cases.
Interesting.
They're again, this is how our law system works, right? You got a better lawyer who's able to convince that jury
absolutely
that those people were in the wrong, and whatever they needed to do, it might have just been that particular jury. Maybe do it in Florida. Might have been a different situation.
Right. Absolutely.
But the question then becomes, as that person in that role, that counseling role or whatever, guidance counselor, social worker, I don't know who it was, but are they just not good at their jobs? Or are they doing the bare minimum of their job that's asked of them?
Or are their hands tied because of said policies and procedures?
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know.
When
it's a documentary.
I don't know.
When I take all documentaries with a grain of salt, because it's from the director's point of view, and they're going to persuade you whatever way they want to persuade you.
Right.
But what was interesting for me was the precedent that was set, and that was their main goal. Their main goal is, we want to use these people as an example because from now on we can use this moving forward. And I thought that part was really interesting.
I don't disagree with that in theory. I disagree with it in precedent setting.
Right.
In that we don't have enough to go off of yet in order to set that precedent. And then when you set that precedent, every single lawyer everywhere uses that case as case experience to further justify. And then things get much more muddy.
Yeah.
So at what point?
Even substitute a school shooting with something else that's bad that could be traced back to the parents.
Absolutely.
That a minor did.
Like a sexual assault.
Right.
Like a bullying incident that led to a fight, that led to someone being hospitalized.
Yep. Who's right.
Exactly my point.
Yeah.
Is how do we now determine what point is parents' negligence versus parents being shitty parents versus parents who are trying the best that they possibly can, and they happen to have a kid that is non-responsive to parental guidance, right?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that this doesn't inappropriately disadvantage minority families?
Right. And it wasn't just one parent. They attacked both parents.
Are they together?
Yes. They're married. They live together. All three of them.
You would have to in order to make that claim.
I mean, and
because what would the opposite of that be? Dad was a resounding citizen, really great, really supportive. But mom, mom's the linchpin here.
But that's the question. Dad was the one that bought the gun. What if mom didn't know? What if it was like a secret in the family? But they have footage of her going to the firing or the firing, but whatever. What is that called? The shooting range. They have videos of her shooting with him. They have the text messages between him and her saying, "Ooh, you got to be more secretive."
I want to be real clear that if you remove the idea of gun violence and instead replace anything that any teenager says to their parents that the parent then just assumes either at face value is correct or, I know my child better than anyone, or this would never happen to my child. That is not far off from the experience of every single American with a teenager.
Right.
So again, where does that slippery slope happen when all of a sudden your kid, you're like, oh, well, I just think my kid's joking around. I think my kid would never do that. My kid would never have that experience. And then all of a sudden you find out at the end of the day, no, actually they've been lying to you. Why? Because they're a teenager.
I know.
That's what teenagers do. I don't care how much you know your kids, how much you think that you know about their everyday ins and outs. Unless you fully understand, you are in their brain working with it every single day, then it literally, you are their brain. You don't know. That is a normal. I just had this conversation the other day with Darlene, and she was like, it's a very appropriate boundary. She was talking about her son. She's like, I always created an environment where I wanted my son to come and talk to me. Because I said, this is what I want for Carter. I want him to come and talk to me about everything. And she's like, and I forget that it's a very normal boundary that when they enter a certain age, they don't talk to you about those things. And you know what? That's appropriate.
Right.
And she's like, but then we've left them with no one else to talk to.
Yeah.
And I said, you're absolutely right.
Friends.
Except for their friends who are
friends.
They're jabroni friends.
Or since they have access to the internet so easily, Google.
Absolutely.
Even Google is like terrifying.
Absolutely. And that is something as small as, did you steal this from the department store? Right. And so for this mom to be like, oh, he's just joking around. Oh, I guarantee you she believed that. They probably had many conversations where he's like, I don't know, I'm just saying this stuff, Mom. I am pretty stressed, or I am pretty, I like the feel that I get from people when they get roused up about the fact that I talk about these guns, right? So who's to say that she didn't just genuinely believe her child and she assessed it wrong? And then he went out and shot up these people. This is what I mean about the slippery slope.
That's a nice sentiment. That's not what happened, but I mean, that could be. I mean, watch the documentary. It's pretty clear, but I think that I don't know much about the law, but I'm guessing before the prosecutor decided to use this as a tactic, they had to do an investigation to decide if that was even a possibility. Because if what you're saying is true and there wasn't enough evidence to even bring that case forward to have any fighting chance, I don't think they would have done it. But because it was blatantly clear and there was enough evidence to support the case.
And I didn't watch the documentary, so I can't say for sure that these are not just negligent parents. My question then still becomes, who is at fault?
Right.
When all of these children have, I'm assuming, died during this tragedy. And this is the conversation we as a country don't have a clear-cut answer on.
I don't think there will ever be.
Is it the shooter behind the gun? Is it the parents who raised the shooter who's behind the gun? Is it the bullies who provoked the kid and was incessantly wouldn't make any different? Is it the school who turned their back on it? Is it, this is a community-wide problem. And it's a lot easier for us to just say, whose fault it is at the end of the day? It's those parents.
Well, I mean, this is the first time that's happened.
It's the shooter.
This is the first time it's
shooter
happened.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Or, right? Like you cannot look at these things outside of a
Don't forget,
bubble.
Somebody has to be responsible when it comes to stuff like this. There has to be.
Now, don't hear. This kid is going to jail for his whole life. He was also. It was the kid and the parents. It wasn't like the kid got scot free and the parent. It was. They included the parents in.
Now, if he weren't a minor, they probably wouldn't have gone after the parents.
100%.
But because he's a minor, that's
interesting.
They're like, oh yeah,
that's exactly.
You get a 2 for 1 or 3 for 1.
Exactly, because I think you have to be 18 to buy a gun, right? In the country, or is it a state?
Depends on the state.
So
guns are state laws.
Okay, so I think that he could not purchase the gun, and it was a pistol. It was not a hunting rifle or whatever those guns you can buy at like Walmart. It wasn't one of those. It was a specific pistol.
I just think overall, so many things in life right now are messy and complicated, and it's not just as easy as, well, here's your clean-cut answer.
I know.
And I've had a lot of conversations with Kelly up the street about this as a K-12 educator, and what I appreciate about her take is that she's really big into history, right? And she's like, anytime anything changes in history, it comes with these bouts of very substantial oppositions to different things, right? But as a mental health provider, I find it so hard to break down these types of conversations into anything valuable, because there's just so much of it that is left unknown, that's out of control, that just goes back so far that you just can never dig into it enough. And then I feel paralyzed by my ability to even comment on it, because I feel fearful that the minute that you make a claim or a statement on something, like let's say I very definitively said those parents never in a million years should have ever been held responsible for that, right? And then some other situation happens that is in a similar vein that either I experience personally or that I listen to or whatever, and then I feel differently about it. You're also not allowed to change your mind on things. So it's messy. And then in addition to it being messy, you can't have a definitive decision, because when you do, you're going to get crucified for the fact that you're a hypocrite because you thought differently about something at some point. And this is why I think you have a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't talk about politics. Right. Oh, I don't talk about, right? Because we're all, as a society right now, inundated with so much opinions and facts that are facts, but maybe won't be facts, and thoughts on how you're supposed to manage all of these things. And there's just so much coming at you all at one time.
Well, specifically, quote unquote, today. I mean, look what happened over the weekend at the rally. And there's two sides of the fence, right?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Our country is just not in a good place. I don't even know if it's the country or the world, but
it's the world. Our country is leading the world in that respect. And it's going to get worse before it gets better, unfortunately. And I don't know how,
but
to what
define
extent.
Better. Like, how do you get better when there's always if this, then that, if that, then this?
When people can have a conversation, when people can discuss things without getting tribal, when people can... But
good luck with that.
No, exactly.
Nobody's teaching anybody any skills on how to be able to do that.
But we're also in a position in the world that we've never seen before, with access to information,
right,
and social media and the echo chamber, that it's almost impossible to control. It is impossible to control now. So one person can go out and say something that's absolutely 100% correct, and most people will never hear it. But another person will go out and say something completely asinine that's totally wrong, and it gets echoed, and everybody, now you say it enough times, people believe it's true. How do you combat that? How do you fight that? How do we reconcile the three of us coming together, talking about something, and Rebecca gets her information from one place, Erin gets her information from another place, and I get my information from a third place, and neither one of us can agree that any of those places are legitimate.
I mean, that's
you can't.
And
that's true.
And it's on something. If it's on something that doesn't necessarily impact us personally, then add that layer onto it.
Right.
So
you got to throw God into the mix, and then you're all screwed. Once you throw God into it, then it's like, how do you sit there? Well, it's like me trying to convince you that ghosts exist or don't exist. How am I going to do that? Same with God. You can't. You cannot say it.
But does it at all bring comfort to know that this is a normal experience when change is on the horizon?
It depends on what kind of change we're talking about.
When we think about other periods in history, and I'm the last person to talk about this because I really am not great at history.
Me neither.
And I'm a history buff, so
good. Well, then bring it up.
Okay, good. Great. So you and Kelly up the street would be saying that in all of the many eras of history, there have been many times where we have seen a great divide in how people are thinking, their decision on who they want for president, their feel on political issues, all of that. And that somehow we get into this really nasty ditch at the very bottom where everyone's experiencing increased riots and, negativity and violence and all of these kind of things because it's so important for them to make sure that their opinion is heard. And then something happens or some number of things happen that gets us to a place where we have like neutralized just a tiny little bit. And then, it happens again. And so, when Kelly says that, for right or for wrong, I always feel a little more comforted because I think, well, this isn't the first time that the world has seen something like this. Maybe I get nervous that this is the first time that the world has seen something like this with the current players, with the current, like you said, access to information and misinformation. Maybe this is the first time we've experienced this in this type of environment. And are we prepared to be able to do that?
Yeah. Throughout history, people have usually been very almost, they're experts that can easily tell a fake from an authentic, whatever it is, be it an identification, be it a news story, but whatever. And now a video goes around of someone doing something that they never did. And it looks like they did because of AI, because of
I sent you that yesterday. Deep
fake technology. Mm-hmm. Now, the biggest thing is, and I can't remember who said it, but there's a quote that says that the first step is to convince people that they don't believe what they see. Mm-hmm. Once people can't believe what they see, then it's all over.
And how do you explain that to someone like Carter, who says to Mark, I watched this video and I just want you to sign up by giving them your email address because now I can get 10,000 Robux for free.
Right.
And Mark says, I don't think this is it, buddy. I haven't been here for what it is that you're watching, and he's like, no, Dad, look in the comments. It says, hey, thanks for the Robux. Just got mine. Thanks for the free $10,000 Robux, right? Yeah. So then how do I turn to the 9-year-old and say to him, none of that is true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you say that to the 40-year-old
who buys into fabricated?
It? How do you say it to the 80-year-old who's convinced that the person that just called them that their social security number was compromised?
Correct. And so to your point, Scott, convincing people that the one old reliable, which was I saw it with my own eyes, is no longer valid.
Nope.
What does that do to disrupt a community, a country, right? Mm-hmm. Something as small as on Facebook the other day, I saw that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I've not seen this anywhere. And I would expect that to pop up for me because I've been following them like a little troll.
Swiftie?
I'm a big Swiftie. And I'm very interested in their relationship.
I haven't heard that either.
So I go and I Google it. And 5 sources that I read said, nope, not yet.
Hoax.
Nope, hasn't happened. Nope, hasn't happened. So I went the extra step to report it as misinformation because I want to play my role in the misinformation crisis that we're going in. That is the stupidest shit ever.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But wants to be first to leak it, wants to go all over the internet, it's not even freaking true. Mm-hmm. Now.
Or it's clickbait.
Put it in a presidential debate.
Right.
Now put it in, right? And then you have algorithms that the more you click on clickbait, the more clickbait you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And then you have people who are not well, who are going to buy into conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that the people who get you to drink the Kool-Aid are telling you is that you can't believe what these other people are telling you about your clickbait. Your clickbait's correct. You got to keep clicking on that clickbait. Don't believe those people.
And these are not non-educated adults that don't have lives. These are CEOs. These are
oh, absolutely,
all walks of life.
Absolutely.
All
but
walks
they got
of life.
on a quote unquote research track. They got on a line.
Do your research.
Whatever. But then their response to you will be, oh, I've done my research.
Right.
I have
the 20 pages,
8,000 articles here to share with you on, but the research track that you went on was a dud journey.
Right.
Right.
But they don't know that because they're convinced this looks professional. This looks, I mean, look at I got sucked into the man with 1,000 babies.
Yes.
I got sucked into that. And I'm like, unbelievable.
Yep.
These people thought they were doing their research. These people were like, all of this seemed legitimate. I mean, There's a lot of questionable
Man
things.
with 1,000 babies?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Our world, I mean, we're about to enter into...
It was a fertility doctor
who
impregnated...
No, that wasn't the story. Did you actually watch it? That's not the story. It was a 20-year-old man.
Oh. Then the one I'm talking about was the OBGYN fertility doctor.
This
fertility
guy
doctor that was using his own
IVF.
juice.
That's a different story. This is the one on Netflix right now called A Man with 1,000 Babies. And what he was doing, he's a very good-looking man. And a lot of these couples in the Netherlands, this is where it started, I believe, obviously wanted a baby. And they were like, holy crap, to go to a fertility clinic is really, really expensive. So they have these alternative options. And so they went down the rabbit hole with these alternative options. It's borderline Grindr, Swiper, whatever that is.
Yeah, okay. Tinder.
Okay. Yes. So you could meet this man, and he was very engaging and very, whatever. And he would convince these.
Hi, I'll impregnate your wife.
Yes.
Hey.
He would encourage, and he was very quote unquote professional. And he's like, we can do it however you want, whatever. And
I propose this way.
No.
My
usually it was not
style. Though.
Usually it was not that. Most of them were lesbians. But anyway.
Oh, really? Oh, they were lesbians that wanted to conceive.
Wanted a baby. Yes.
And so he would
do it in the cup.
Dude,
in the public restroom. They would come to their house and do it in a cup. He would do it at their whatever. He would do whatever. But the point is that he would convince them that he was only taking 2 or 3 clients, and then if they wanted second babies. Not true. He's on every registry in the world. Dude. He does private things all around the world. He has a YouTube channel where he goes and visits different countries and showcases different things there when he's really impregnating people around the world. And the concern is these communities have 50, 60, 70, 80 kids in one school district. They're all related.
Ew.
And they don't know.
And so now there's all kinds of interbreeding that's going to go on.
They're all related. And so now there's this Facebook group that all these people are like, because he has so many alias names, right?
Oh, God.
And so this Facebook group is like, I think this guy impregnated me, and let me show you the picture. There's 1,000 children
they all look the same.
that all look the same. They're gorgeous.
I gotta go.
They're gorgeous. And this man was just addicted. I don't even think he took money for most of it.
He was just addicted. Do it for free.
He was addicted.
I'll do it for free.
And all these moms are sick to their stomach because they're like, how is my kid? I mean, you got to teach your kid, well, you can't like someone. And then they went into this theory. I'm only halfway through. They went into this theory of when you meet someone and you're instantly attracted to them type of thing. Usually
it's because they look like you.
And you have this common sense, like there's just these feelings, and so these people were starting to fall in love as teenagers.
Why go across town when you can go across the hall?
But that's the problem. So then they started mapping out.
This is unhinged.
Yeah, this was not what you thought it was.
All of this is unhinged. I gotta go.
And this is recent.
I gotta go.
This is all recent. I
don't like how I feel right now.
But think about it. These people are trying to save a buck. But even the fertility clinics.
Like it.
So then what happened was once the fertility clinics were tipped off, those doctors, they interviewed the doctors, and the doctors were sick to their stomachs because they had to make all the calls. And now is it the fertility clinic's fault?
No, you know who it is?
Is this all in the Netherlands?
You know who's
No, it's around the world.
Do you want to know
even in the U.S.
I know whose fault it is.
Can't wait.
The parents.
Yeah, the parents of this weirdo kid or weirdo guy.
It's the parents of the jizz in a cup man.
I mean,
I cannot.
Yeah, all around the world.
His father was a minister or something like that.
That's a good question. I don't remember. I have to go back and I'm only half. There's like a 4-part series, but it is messed up.
Now there's all these people that are like, I am my own first cousin.
You guys,
yeah, these parents who thought they were
screwed.
I know. We have to teach our kids. You cannot have intimacy until you get a blood test.
Hey, Carter, just wanted to let you know you are officially an only child. I promise you.
When Kelly and I went to get our marriage certificate down in Florida, the woman asked us if we were related.
I think you have to.
Yeah, I know.
Where?
We always in Florida. We always joked around about that.
I'm pretty sure they did that in New York too. I just don't remember.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Why?
Yeah.
They think someone's going to be honest about that?
I think, again, checking the box. They asked the question.
Go back in history. I mean, look at FDR married Eleanor. She was his second cousin or third cousin or some shit. Mm-hmm. You know,
you don't have a lot of choices.
Look at the royals.
Right? They're all
family
inbred.
Tree does not fork.
They're all inbred. Yeah. But the concern, that is the ultimate concern, is that these children are going to grow up and it's going to be an incestuous society, because this man decided.
Not just incestuous, but incestuous leads to
deformities and all these
massive issues.
Yeah, lots of.
That's the concern.
Genetic.
So these doctors are like, there's a reason we have this on lockdown. So what? This guy's a bunch of fake IDs. He just goes in with all these aliases because you can get fake
jail
IDs.
Now, I assume.
I didn't finish the documentary. I got to finish it.
Oh.
But when you mentioned the guy, there is a guy who was a doctor who was doing that. That was like in the 70s and 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
This guy, this is
There was
recent.
a guy in Rochester that did that.
Great. Good thing I'm not from here.
Because I know from a certain person who works in medicine who just recently told me that she met one of the children.
Oh my God. Gross.
Of this Rochester doctor who was doing that. Yeah.
I feel complete dread.
You should.
I feel
we all should.
Like I said, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
We all should. It's terrifying.
What I will tell you though is I got home and my mom said, Trump's been shot. And what I was real pleased with in that moment.
You didn't say yeehaw?
Was that my first reaction was, oh no, that's not okay.
Right. That's how I felt.
And
anyone should feel that way.
was a quick little gut check for me. And I'm still alive. I'm still doing okay.
I would never ever condone that.
I felt terrible.
And the seeing the crap that's on social media now, I
ignore all of it because it's all crap.
I had to really back up and be like, I can't.
Yep.
I probably unfollowed about a dozen people yesterday, for both reasons, for saying too bad he missed, and for sharing pictures of Trump with an angel kissing his ear and stuff. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, please stop it.
I can't understand a human being who would be sad that someone wasn't murdered. That's fucked up. I don't care who it is. I don't care. I don't know. I feel really weird about that.
Rightly so.
I feel really weird about that.
That is a huge problem that anyone would feel good about that.
Not to throw some jet fuel on the fire here, but feel the same way about pedophiles? Do you feel the same way? Do you feel the same way about serial killers?
Murdering?
Right? That if they just happen to be on a pulpit and someone missed, to think, you know what, maybe it would have been better if that person was dead, right? I'm not putting Trump in that category.
I was going to say, that feels not aligned.
Well, the statement that was just made by you and Scott was, I don't know why anyone would ever feel, right? This is exactly back to my point.
I don't think murder is...
You can't make... We're now in this position where you go to make such a broad statement of, I never wish anyone to be dead ever. I don't think murder is ever the answer, right? And then something personal happens to you or something, and I don't know as a society if we feel the same way. And then we're just starting to get into, okay, well, Trump's life may be better than a pedophile's life, or Trump's life may be better, right? And so then again, it's just circling. I'm not saying this because I believe it. I'm saying it to prove this point of how nothing is sacred and nothing is safe. It doesn't matter what you say.
I think Rebecca and I were both speaking in the context of assassinating a political person.
Specifically on live TV with other people around.
It wasn't a general like, oh, I hope no one ever gets shot or no one deserves to get taken out.
So you do believe that some people deserve to be murdered. Trump just wasn't one of them.
That's a tough question, but I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I do believe that some people do not deserve to be alive.
Okay, so that's exactly what I mean. But what was said was, no one ever deserves to be killed. No one ever deserves to be murdered, right? And so again, sorry for being the
autistic
neurodivergent one here, but words matter to me. Words matter a lot to me, right? And I will hear that and I will think, okay, well, that's a wide sweeping statement. Is
but
that
you
true in every
the context in which we were saying that?
Does the context matter if the statement starts with the word all?
Yeah.
Really?
It absolutely
fascinating.
does.
Say more about that.
Well, if we're talking about...
I would agree with Scott.
If we're talking about, how do I do this? Sandwiches? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way to do this. And we're talking about sandwiches and, shit. And I say, I would never eat that kind of, I don't know how to say it. But for when I'm having a conversation with someone and we're talking about something and we make a statement like that, it's, in my mind, it's within the context of that conversation. It's not globally,
Yeah.
No one should ever be killed. Maybe that's how you take it. And it's a good point that maybe we shouldn't speak in such generalities without being specific, I guess, or whatever. But
it's those types of statements that there will be people, the two of you, who will hear that and know immediately in that moment, okay, well, we're talking about political figures who are on a pulpit. No one ever deserves to be just taken out in that way. And then there's other people who are going to hear exactly what you just said, and they're going to hear what I heard, and they're going to have contention with it, and they're going to be like, "What do you mean never? Never? We're making such a statement about never." I'm not saying that either one of those is right. I'm just saying that that's part of the problem of what continues to fuel what we all experience every single day. Rebecca and I experience this constantly because she speaks off the cuff always. And she will make broad sweeping statements often. And she will make judgmental broad sweeping statements. And I, because I am as literal and pinpointed as I am, will push back on that often and say, well, what about this specific situation? She'll be like, okay, all right, okay. I don't mean all. What I mean is, right, this happens to us all of the time.
Exhausting.
Just because we're two people who process things very differently. Well, thank God we can talk about that.
Well, we went to church this weekend for the first time in a long time, and to prove their point, they were pulling random verses out of the Bible. And I'm like, that's nice. Sure, you can pull random shit out of a Bible all you want to prove your point. But what is the context that was in? Mm-hmm. That's where I always go back to that. I'm like, I could pull out a word anywhere. Like, come on. I don't know.
Here's the end result of this.
Cognitive dissonance.
Neither one of these is correct.
No, but it makes life much more difficult.
Exactly my point.
And therefore, I just cut people out of my life.
Neither one of them is correct. And that's what's important, is that you will fight to the death. You and Scott will fight to the death.
Oh, no, I will not fight. I'll just stop talking. I'm like, okay.
That's part of a problem too.
Well, because it's exhausting, and it's
I agree.
If you need to be right, go ahead and be right. Go ahead.
No, but this is what happens.
I totally agree.
People will say, fine, go ahead and be right.
And then
what happens to those conversations? I
know.
And then what happens to the people who decide they're not going to stop?
I know.
Right?
It's too much.
This isn't about Rebecca, Scott, and Erin. This is just, I'm trying to bring the general awareness to the fact that this is one small, tiny little example of why people get exhausted by it, can no longer participate in it. And then the person at the end of the day who still has the little bit of stamina left is the begrudging from the freaking basement who still wants to keep the conversation going. Yeah. And then those of us who are we're on a fight for justice are I'm all set. I can't do it anymore.
This is so exhausting.
And that is the cycle that's been happening since before COVID. And COVID
probably even before
sped it up.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it was happening before COVID, and COVID sped it up, something fierce.
And made it very political.
And people are still not okay post-COVID. And now you're taking a beaten down group of people who are mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausted. Many haven't rebounded financially. Many haven't rebounded emotionally. Many have trauma that has still not been handled. You have kids that are going to school that are not at the age range that they're supposed to be at socially or educationally. And then you're like, you know what we're going to add on to that? How about a really high-touted political November election that's coming up? Where if
Which
I'm
a lot
really
of people think that
honest,
it will fix everything.
Right. In which way?
A lot of people think that way.
Honestly, your only hope is to have a write-in for Erin Halligan Avery.
I don't know
I
about
actually want nothing to do with that whatsoever.
No.
But to have a write-in, honestly.
A write-in will never win.
No, never.
No.
Never. But here's the best and the brightest of our country is Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
That's not the game. The game is who can the Democratic Party put up against Trump that has any chance of winning. It's not even who's the best person for the job, because there could be a perfect candidate, but if they're not well known and they're not anything, they ain't gonna win. I'm telling you right now.
It's true.
It's who's going to win against Donald Trump. That's the only thing that matters right now.
And
it's
I'm telling
not
you right now,
anything else.
And you want to know what the answer is?
He's going to win.
Yeah. Of course he's going to win.
Yeah. No one.
Of course he's going to win.
Get your Handmaid's Tales shawls and everything, and the little bonnets that you have to wear.
I just think that our country is you think we're divided now.
So basically what's going to happen is he's going to win, and then you're going to find out whether or not everything everyone's saying is true or not.
That's right.
What do you mean? If it is true, then we're fucked.
What do you mean?
And if it's not true and things are better, then I'll be the first one to say, I was wrong.
Oh, you mean like the oh my God, if he gets into power again, this is what's going to happen. World War III, those types of things.
I don't know about World War III, but I'm talking about going after his political enemies, being very changing a lot. So the Supreme Court just said that the president in operation of his duties or whatever cannot be held criminally liable, right? He's exempt from the law, which means that the president can now do whatever he wants as long as it's considered an official duty. So he could, and this is totally like way out there.
Way more than I know nothing about this.
He could create an executive order that says all trans people need to go to internment camps. I'm really going way out.
Yeah,
but
you're making an example.
He could do that. Mm-hmm. And because of that new Supreme Court precedent, he's not liable. Mm-hmm. Now the Congress still has the checks and balances, but with the Congress being so screwy and like not even working because they're so split and nobody wants to go against their party's leadership, aka Trump. So any Republicans that are maybe don't agree with it, they're still going to go along with it because that means that their career will be ruined if they go against it. And who knows if going against it's going to mean that they could go to jail. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of
moving parts.
And a lot of possibilities that I hope I'm talking out of my ass here. Mm-hmm. I hope that it's all bullshit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I've seen a lot of very wise political scientists and other people who are very learned give their thoughts on these, and it's very potentially very scary.
Which brings,
but then people will say the other side of the coin is very scary to keep Biden in power, or what do you call it, in office?
Absolutely.
I disassociate with all of it because don't care.
And then people,
but I do care if somebody was murdered on TV.
Would say to you,
I guess it depends on what you mean. So, like, if God forbid, if Biden were to die, if he gets reelected and he dies in office, mm-hmm. and Kamala Harris becomes president, mm-hmm. there are some people who would rather see sweeping conservative ideals and a theocracy before ever seeing a female black president. Mm-hmm. Because of their fear that a female black president would throw this country into
what?
Like, we'd all be wearing hijabs and shit.
Oh my God.
There are people. I know because they're in my fucking family. I see them. They all live in Florida, by the way. But they believe that stuff.
It's exhausting. It's too much. I'm just going to stay in my backyard.
I hate to be the empath here, but
trying to see both sides.
I really am curious about getting to the bottom base of why people feel the way that they fear. Where does that fear come in both sides? Because honestly, I'm not so crazy Democratic or so crazy Republican, right? I was going to surprise a whole lot of people that I happen to be quite middle, and on certain issues tend to lean one way or the other depending on the issue. Yeah,
but absolutely. They force you to make a decision.
But
it's
they
the
talk
loud
to
ones
you,
that are
right. Or, if you identify with anything that is Democratic, you're immediately called a snowflake. Right. And I'm like, well, this is fascinating. Right?
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But what I do think at the end of the day for me is I am and can hang with a lot of people who have very different political beliefs or thoughts or feelings than I do. So long as we can have an open conversation that is leading toward an educational outcome.
Right.
I'm not interested in wanting to debate certain things or why you're right or why I'm wrong. I just think people's capacity to be able to have those conversations is quite limited. And that's why I can't hang with them.
I think it's limited because they want an answer and they want it to be their way. So for me, what I'm hearing is you would like to have a conversation and everybody just, there will be no different anything. It's just to have a conversation.
But it all goes back to, all of this circles back to where people get their information.
Sure.
And so when someone says, well, the economy is going crazy right now, and Biden, the Biden administration did this and they added 350,000 new jobs. And then someone else says, well, that's actually not true because these jobs are all part-time jobs and they're not, and so they'll take that.
A job's a job.
Well, yeah, but a full-time job and a part-time job, it's kind of a funky area. What would you rather have? Well, I'm not asking you.
Get 2 part-time jobs makes a fulltime job. What's the fucking problem?
That's not true because 2 part-time jobs doesn't give you the benefits of 1 full-time job.
Okay, fine. Get married and get some benefits. I don't know what to tell you.
No, but you know what I mean? Like,
find a partner.
I can take one fact, not me personally, but someone could say this, and I could say, "Well, where'd you hear that? Oh, I heard that on Fox News." Well, then you're fucking, you're full of shit. I heard that on MSNBC. Oh, well, you know what I mean? That's where do you know the information is coming from? Where do you know that it's right? Where is that information? Because that's what backs everybody's argument is a story that comes out from some source. Look at Alex Jones. Alex Jones was going after those Sandy Hook people, saying that it was all a crisis, crisis actors, and none of those kids were killed. You never heard of that? He was because
I don't follow any of this.
He was forced to pay like billions of dollars in restitution because they were harassing these families who lost their children in this school shooting, and he and all of his conspiracy theorists were saying that it was a false flag and they were just doing that to try to institute gun reform and all this kind of stuff, like crazy stuff.
But that's what I mean. Even if you could sit there and have a conversation till you're blue in the face. And we could all sit there and be like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Still doesn't change my mind. Still doesn't change how I feel.
I don't think I want to hear as much as I want to try and understand where it's coming from.
But even if you do understand that,
that's a slippery slope.
I'm curious about that. I'm curious about really where that's coming from, because I don't believe that change happens or that movement happens until you understand the core of why someone is pushing out whatever it is that they're pushing out.
So once you understand the core, then what?
Then I determine whether or not there's potential movement, or if we deal with that core, let's say it's coming from a place of fear, and we manage that a little bit, do we start to see a change in the portrayal of what someone is saying?
It's definitely from a place of fear.
Always is.
Because people fear gay and lesbian and trans people. People fear immigrants from another country. People fear people who aren't like them. And that's where it all comes from.
Fear is a complex emotion. Fear is not just fear.
Right. Where does the fear come from?
Exactly.
The fear comes from learned things that happened in their past, or what they were told, or what they saw. An experience that they had.
But I don't want to sit around a fire and just have conversations for conversation's sake.
Pass the marshmallows,
but I do think that there is benefit in having conversations about what makes you tick, what makes you think this way. I could sit with Philip all day and be like, tell me a little bit more about why you're thinking the way you're thinking about these kind of things. That helps me understand him. That helps me understand his level of functioning. That helps me understand all of that.
But how do you do that and get to the point when if you hear something that you believe is not correct, or that maybe is not correct? For instance, Pizzagate. There were people who were adamant that there was a pizza shop in Washington, D.C. that the Democrats were running a child prostitution ring from there, to the point where a guy showed up with an AR-15 to try to liberate all the prisoners.
And were there any?
No, it was a pizza place. But that was something that went like on Reddit and all these other things that all these conspiracy theorists authentically believed was true. Mm-hmm. And so when you get to the point where you're like, all right, so now you've explained that to me. Now I'm here to tell you that that's not true, or like, how do you work that?
I don't focus on the details of what it is that they're telling me. I continue to focus on the basis of why they believe what it is that they believe, and will give it valid time and effort to determine whether or not what they are believing is sound and reasonable. I might even look into some things myself in the Pizzagate situation. I might be like, interesting, where are they coming from with this? And where is this right? I'd look at some of the sources. I'd look at some of the stuff that was being provided to me, right? I'm not going down the rabbit hole of Pizzagate because my gut instinct says, and I don't know anything about that case, but my gut instinct says this feels a little far-fetched. Right. And it also feels like it would have been caught a whole lot earlier than this, than someone going in with an AR-15. That's just my baseline, is not to jump in and be like, I'm headed to the pizza shop, you know.
To be skeptical.
But
I would love to see you have a conversation with a flat earth believer.
I would love for you to come to my house, Scott, and engage in a conversation with Mark and I, because you are not going to find two people who are more drastically different on their belief systems, especially during COVID, on their thought processes, on their research sources. In fact, I have said to Mark, I want to be really clear that I draw the line at flat earthers. And if you are a flat earther, it's going to need to be closeted, because I cannot hear that and come back from that. And I'm dead fucking serious.
Oh yeah, that's grounds for divorce. That is now next level.
Have we flirted with every other topic? Mm-hmm. And am I still clear at this moment that he might be a flat earther?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I'm pretty clear, but because he knows the boundaries and he knows where the line is.
He probably has a T-shirt.
Yeah,
and he wears it. When I'm not home, is probably where we're at. Mm-hmm. And so I speak from experience here when I say that. In fact,
I think our next guest is Mark, just to see this whole podcast derail. I'm not kidding.
See, the thing is,
I'm not kidding. It would be one of the hardest
episode.
I don't engage in these kind of conversations with people who are diametrically opposed, because I don't do the research. I don't have.
Yeah, there's no way to come back and have an intelligent conversation, because they will win.
Yeah, a lot of people will have articles and articles and articles, and you can't refute them unless you take a week to go back and find out who wrote the article, where it came from, and that stuff. And it's like, I don't have the time. I don't have the patience.
But I think my question is, why do you care? Who cares?
Who?
I wouldn't.
Why would you want to even entertain? I mean, I like to entertain the conversation and just let them talk, because they really just like to hear themselves talk.
Here's my stake in the game. I have a trans son. Mm-hmm. I have a trans son who's on the autism spectrum, mm-hmm. and certain philosophies based on that I've heard from people on the right make me afraid for his future, mm-hmm. and for that of the people that he cares about. Mm-hmm. And so that's my stake in the game. That's where I care.
Subject
specifically, but a lot of it kind of comes together in the same idea of, okay, I have friends who are from other countries and are Mexican, mm-hmm. and I fear for them. What are that one guy said, and I've seen this meme before, where it's like, people who speak with a foreign accent are brave, mm-hmm. because they're actually outwardly showing that they are not from here. Mm. Depends on where you are, of course. But you know what I mean? Like, so that kind of stuff. And I hope that all the rhetoric is wrong. I hope that all of the fear that I have based on what people believe about trans people, I hope that that's all bullshit. And that they're like, no, you can do whatever they want, but I don't, based on what I see people sharing, I don't think that's the case. But it took my parents a long time to accept my son.
Sure.
And I still have to go, no, that's not his name. I have to correct them. And I understand. It's hard. It was hard for me too.
And people would respond to that with the, I don't pay attention to politics because I, just don't want to be involved in it as, wow, congratulations on your privilege, that you're in a privileged stance of not having to participate because you don't feel that any of the issues that are coming up right now affect you. And they do, and they affect your daughters, and they affect, other things that are going on. But it's okay to also say, I'm incredibly overwhelmed by what's going on right now. I don't feel educated about this subject. I don't feel connected enough to it in order to put my time, effort, and energy in it. And to say that from a feeling-oriented place instead of just saying, whatever, nobody cares about politics. That's where things get misinterpreted, right? Yeah, tons of people care about politics. People you care about care about politics. There's people who care about politics that are out there literally in Albany holding up their little signs, right? There's people who care, and in the general sense, we can't even agree on which side of those coins is okay. You can't even say you don't want to participate in politics right now without being criticized.
Oh, yeah.
People will come at you from that standpoint.
People can't breathe anymore without being judged or whatever. So then it becomes all right, whatever. Like just disengage because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Right.
So,
and that is a very normal response to overwhelm.
Oh, sure.
And we are seeing that at such a almost apathetic place in this country because people were already exhausted and now are just, they're done. They're all done. And so who are the best people in the world to prey on? The weak and the vulnerable.
Sure.
Right? And so I wish I knew how to fix it or how, like, just individually at one little place, you take a step to try and feel a little bit less of that burden every day because we all need it because we're all not okay right now. And coming into this election year, it's a couple of months away. I mean, it's not great. It's really not great. And I wish from a human suffering standpoint that we weren't about to go into what we're about to experience. I wish that for all of us because everyone's impacted when everyone's not okay.
And there's just no light at the end of the tunnel on either side.
Yeah, agreed.
On either side. Yeah. And that, for me, is the part that's
there's
scary.
no hope.
You know how in life,
really hard to put
you know
hope
how
anywhere.
In life you're like, you know what I need? I need a vacation to look forward to.
Something to look forward to.
Right.
We don't have that.
Right.
There is
something as small as that. People are like, well, it's okay because I'll suffer through this because I got a vacation coming up in January.
Right.
We as a society, we don't. Where's the vacation coming up in January?
But some people feel really great about what's coming up.
Good for them.
Some people feel really, really great, and on either side, whichever. I feel either side, it's just going to be more of the same. It's going to be more of the same. It's going to be more of the if this then that. It's going to be more changes, regardless of which side gets in.
I feel like we're coming up on a cliff, and there's people out there saying, "What would you like? 2 feathers or an anvil?" You come up to the cliff and it's like, I give the anvil so I can go right down fast or flap with the feathers and hope I can fly.
Give me some hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I'm going to leave us on a positive note.
Yay.
Both via an affirmation card and also,
well, just so we're clear, my
something I found
I won't read this, but endurance is our what is the thing called? The tarot card. Endurance. 7 of Wands. Endurance. And I'll just say the advice. Say your words loud and clear and then be prepared to negotiate. You have a higher moral ground, and with endurance and courage, you will get the result you need.
If you want to know what my affirmation card says?
Can't wait.
I know that I will sometimes feel heavy and disappointed. I'm allowed to have bad days.
funny because neither of us came in here prepared on what to talk about. And
But here's the tiny little like happiness that I'm going to leave you with.
Okay.
I got in the car, or I got here, and I went to go get out of the car, and I saw something that looked like a little nose twitch in front of me. And there's a tiny baby bunny in the grass in front of me. And so I took a mindful moment.
Yep.
And I sat there and I watched his little nose twicker.
Mm-hmm. And then hoped he didn't get run over by a car when he crosses the street.
The woman, who's this woman, Scott? The woman,
Nadine?
The massager?
Nadine next door?
I don't know, whatever. She doesn't like Rebecca's cackling.
No.
Everyone, she was coming in. And I said, did you see the bunny? Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, what bunny? And so I then shared that happiness with her.
Yeah.
Nice.
And she said, oh my God, it's so cute. And then she said, come and look at it from this angle. It's even better. And so then I went up.
Is it its little butt?
I saw it at a little better angle. I got a good picture of it. And so the world is falling apart.
Enjoy
We're
the
all
small
in a
moments.
really bad place.
Yep.
But find yourself a little baby bunny
Or just stay in the baby bunny moment.
and just be in
Stay in the baby bunny moment.
Baby bunny moment.
And be like, this is where I belong.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers. Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
And I won't tell you about the foxes that live around.
Nope, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. We are leaving on a positive
I'm
note.
going to take it home when I see it outside.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
I loved that.
Me too. Isn't empathy amazing?
Well, we're amazing. I don't know about all this empathy stuff.
That's fine. I accept you wherever you are.
Oh, God.
I love you.
I love you too.
And if you love us, please like and subscribe to More Love, the Power of Empathy podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
See you next time.